Present. Quorum being present, we can call the meeting to order, and I will ask Abby for her opening prayer, please.
All right. Let us gather together once again in prayer. Holy and living God, you call us together not by accident, but by love, by covenant, and by hope. As we gather in this moment of shared life, quiet our hurried minds and soften our guarded hearts. Create among us space to listen more than speak, to seek understanding before agreement, to honor one another as bearers of your spirit. Bless our discernment when decisions feel complex, grant us wisdom. When differences arise, grant us patience and humility. When voices are quiet or uncertain, grant us courage and room to be heard. Still speaking God, move among us in ways both gentle and surprising. Speak through all of this meeting, through questions and convictions, through numbers and narratives, through each person gathered here. May what we say, what we choose, and how we listen be shaped by love, love for this congregation, love for the wider church, and love for the world you entrust to our care. Bind us together as one body, rooted in faith, open to your leading, and ready to follow where your spirit calls us next. We offer this meeting and ourselves into your faithful hands, and together we say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We will now approve the annual meeting minutes of 2024, last year's annual meeting, which actually took place in January of 25. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Ted. Second. Josephine, and Larry. Larry, you're third. Heather, you're taking these down?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? I see no heads shaking, so we're good to go. Thank you for that. We'll move on to Jim is not here, as noted. You did receive the treasurer's report in your packet. We came in very close to budget on an operating basis. And in addition, the other non-operating revenue was healthy. So we ended up with a positive year as compared to budget. And I think that reflects tremendous work on the part of so many people. John, did you have anything you wanted to add to that report?
I think we'll be talking more about those numbers when we go through the budget discussion.
All right, sounds good. So unless there are any questions, hearing none, may I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Ted and Josephine seconds. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm seeing and hearing none. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. How quickly we get to the budget, John?
All right.
You're on.
Give me a moment here to share. Get it to the right screen. There we go. And hopefully everyone can see my screen at this point.
Yes.
So similar to what we've talked about in the past, why do we do a budget? It's sort of the first thing. And this is the same slide that I have talked about many times. It's a tool. It is not something that's sort of cast in stone. Yes, it is. It's something we vote on, something that's important. Just like you have a household budget, the church needs to have a budget. It's a planning tool. It helps us plan where we want to invest our time and our treasures and our priorities as a congregation. It is a form of stewardship. It is probably one of our biggest stewardship tools that we use. And it's something that really, draws us back to the heart of who we are, which is, the mission of faith that we talk about, being here and who we are as a community, Christ-centered community, community of faith, supporting of each other, energetically committed to sharing God's love through fellowship and service. All those pieces are why we have a budget and what the budget is serving. It's the larger piece that we fit into. And as I know many of you know, have read in the emails that have gone out and in the packet beforehand, we have a budget challenge that we're going to be facing in 2026. Our income is down quite a bit. Pledges are down almost $20,000, although, as Abby has noted, there have been some new pledges that have come in, which have whittled that down. I believe we're now down to about $15,000 down in pledges, although I haven't seen any official numbers come through on that yet. But that number is getting better. But it still speaks to the larger issue of why pledges are important. And I know Larry has sent out some emails, and the stewardship committee, and Wendy and Josephine and others have really focused on, hey, we do this so that we have numbers that we can plan to, because if we don't know what income we're going to have, it makes it really hard to know what we can spend and be responsible in doing that. So with our income being down, we have recommended from the trustees that we take, you'll see 18,525. That number is appreciation that we have from our endowment fund for last year, less inflation. So we are keeping the endowment whole as it is, but we are taking sort of excess earnings, if you will, out of endowment, as well as some of that money that we didn't take from last year. We had voted last year to do the same thing for the budget. It was about $7,000. That was part of that we didn't take last year. So we're saying we're going to take last year's and this year's to try and help close the gap here. On the expense side, expenses are running, if I think of what inflation is, we're running still under inflation levels right now. I mean, it is $208,000, and we'll see the details of that as we go into the slides that come on. But that's a really big number, driven by things that are largely out of our control. Insurance rates are going up. Just operating costs of things continue to rise. Those are things that we can't really do a lot about without taking, fundamental structural changes of what we do in the building or with our church missions. So with this, we're looking at a gap that's $29,000. Maybe that's down to $25,000 now, something along that line. But it's a big number, and it's a bigger number than the trustees are willing to come in and recommend that we use as a budget going forward. So today's discussion is going to be just that. It's going to be a discussion, letting everyone know where we are with different things, getting your input on how we can work on this going forward. And we're recommending that we regroup after Easter, because it gets to be a busy time through Lent and Easter, as well as we need some time to really evaluate how can we take ourselves out of this hole that we've finding ourselves into at this point in time, before we take any sort of big action, say, oh, well, we need to cut this program, or we need to do reduce staff, or we need to do something along those lines. Those are much more significant discussions. We're not ready for those. I don't think we need to get to that point in time, to be quite honest. So I think we're going to be back here again, looking at this in a couple of months. So into some of the details that go through here. And if people have questions and they want to unmute themselves or interject something as we're going along, I welcome that discussion as we're going through. Otherwise, you'll get to hear me drone on for 10 or 15 minutes. That can be not so fun either. Where does our money come from? 81% is our worship income, which you would expect. Fundraisers are 14%. And then you see, another 10% or so, which is all sorts of little things that get added up in here, 8%. Building rents that we have, interest, undesignated gifts that come in. This year, for the first time, we had the town contribute to the food pantry, to our overhead. which is a really great thing. And Larry Neary was really at the center of that charge, has been working on that for a long time. And I really want to call him out and thank him for that. And that really goes to sort of covering, the time that Ashley spends with it, the time that the room that we use for that, the heat, the electricity, all those sorts of things. But it is the town's food pantry. We host it, so I think it's a very appropriate thing for the town to be doing, and I'm quite pleased to see that has happened. In addition to all of this giving, I'd be remiss if I didn't call out that we had a new roof that we put on the church last year. That was another $8,900 that came from the congregation above these worship numbers. We had another $15,000 that we took from that was given to us from the memorial funds. Again, more giving that has come into the church that we've used toward that. So, this is a very generous congregation. We have really stepped up to look at all these things, and it's really a great thing to be part of. I'm proud to be part of that type of a congregation. But we did have, it said we had a deficit at the end. We had a slight surplus the year before, even though we had budgeted for a deficit. We had budgeted our deficit last year to be about $7,000. It came in at about $10,000. Again, we didn't take the money out of endowments, the excess money that would have closed that gap completely, but we didn't need it from a cash flow perspective. Jim has been very astute at how he manages our cash and as the treasurer, and so we said, you know what, better to leave that money there, continuing to grow, continuing to earn interest, rather than pull it into operations when we didn't need the cash. And you saw in the treasurer's report, on the balance sheets there, you can see how much are in each of our different accounts. And things like our operating account, which is our checking account, basically, this time of year, it's very healthy. Right after we come out of Christmas, it's in the $60,000 range, and it will dwindle down. In the summer, it gets to its lowest points, and we expect that. But right now, it's healthy enough that we can just use that to continue to operate. We're not like some congregations I have been part of, and I'm sure you all are aware of other congregations. It's week to week. It's like collect the offering and pull out money and see if you can pay the minister. I've been in congregations like that in maybe decades ago, but still we're not that type of a congregation, so we're very fortunate that way. Income projections. So our income projections are down, as we had talked about, and the big nut here is the pledges, and this was the pledges as of January 4th, and I understand that number has changed a bit in the past week. Thank you as a community for responding to that. We have some new pledges that come in. We're hoping that some others, as they're seeing this budget deficit, will come and say, hey, I can do a little bit more and adjust their pledges as they're going forward. But it is, if you look at what we've been the past several years, it's been $145,000 for the past 4 or 5 years. And we were down to 125,000. That's an unexpected big drop that we saw, and that's what sort of has precipitated a lot of this discussion that we're having here. And then you can see here in the budget, we're helping plug that with this $18,000 that I talked about before. And if you just look over the years, 2024. Actuals of $200,000 what came in last year, $183,000 that came in. We're forecasting 178, 179 right now. It's probably up a little bit, probably 185-ish. So hopefully we'll be in the same range of 2025. But as I mentioned, the sad part is that as long as we can do that, expenses continue to rise as well. And where do we spend our money? You've seen this pie chart before. It is very similar to what it has been in years past. It really hasn't changed. Percentages may change 1% or 2% here or there as things shift. The bulk of our money is spent on pastor's salary, the parsonage, insurance, expenses that all are associated with with having a full-time minister here. Facilities and maintenance, utilities, insurance. Insurance continues to go up and goes up faster than inflation. I'm sure you're probably seeing that in your homes as well, in your personal medical insurance, other types of things like that. Those are costs that we have taken action on. We've actually increased our deductible to try and hold our increases to a more reasonable level. We went from $1,000 deductible to a $5,000 deductible on our insurance policy, so to hold those costs down where we can. Our office staff, the copier, supplies, worship and music, and then we have some little pieces here which are very important and actually a big piece of our mission, but we spend little on them in our budget. I will say, and we've talked about this before, mission and outreach, we have a lot of giving that goes to mission and outreach that doesn't go through our budget. So we have a lot of direct appeals. Those costs, those giving that come in are outside of our budget. So we actually, as a congregation, give a lot more than that number would lend us to believe. So for the spreadsheet people among us, here are details on that. We're still facing, as of the time that this was put together, $29,000 shortfall. Expenses are, I think we've done a good job of holding the line on expenses where we can. But they're still up, right? We're still seeing expenses that are up, and you can see which categories they're up in, but they're all small numbers. And I mean, the biggest pieces here are really, mission and outreach, which we're up $1,000 there. That's a big percentage because of just the small number that we have in our budget on that piece. There's not a lot of fat, if you would call it that. I wouldn't call there's any fat in this budget, if I'm to be completely honest, as we're going through here. So as I mentioned, as I kicked off with, I don't feel comfortable as chair of the trustees to recommend this as a budget that we adopt and go forward with. It's not a sustainable budget. It's not one that I would feel good that, hey, end of the year, we're short $30,000. It's like, no, I don't think that's where we should be as a congregation. It's not responsible for us. Do we have cash and funding that we can cover some of these things? We can for a short time, but it's not something that's sustainable. So we need to look for ways, as you would with any budget, how do you increase revenue or how do you cut costs? Those are the two levers that we have. And what we're recommending at this point in time is we're going to operate with this as our budget, continue to brainstorm and appeal and other things to how do we increase revenue, and then revisit this as a congregation after Easter. How are we doing now that we're 4 months into the year? Where are we heading toward? And if we need to, at that point in time, take some action to trim some things or adjust where we're focusing on things, that's a longer conversation. It's not one that I want to sort of rush into a Zoom meeting on a snowy January day. So I think it's all part of our discussion as we're going on here. So let me pause here, and then I will talk a little bit about the painting and some of the other expenses that we have coming up, because unfortunately this isn't the end of the news with all this. But let me pause here and see if anybody have any comments, questions, or anything else I can answer.
Comments from anyone? Questions from anyone?
Just unmute
Larry?
yourself if you want.
Larry?
Just to echo what John is saying, as head of stewardship, I don't know who pledges what, and I don't want to, but if there's anybody here that hasn't pledged, please do. If John's words ring a bell in your head and you can give more than you thought you could give as a one-time gift, please do. The trustees are doing the best job they can with what they have. And I can foresee in a few months, after Easter, of possibly having to cut some things that make us who we are. And that would really be too bad. So please, if you can, give more. If you haven't pledged, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Anyone else? Any comments? I'd like to hear some reactions to John's plan to sort of keep steady, hold steady, with a view towards seeking, additional options for revenues, and working over where and how those cuts might take place if they're needed. Any comments, please?
Can he see us? Frank, it's Chris.
Yes, Chris.
I just wanted to say a couple of things. John did an awesome presentation. It was easy to follow.
Thank you.
We can see that there are things that are problems. You don't make it sound like we're sinking a ship. And there's possibilities. But it all comes back to the fact that we are the possibilities. Not some other idea, not some other plan, not someone who's going to come and say, hey, I want to give your church $50,000. We are the possibilities. And we have to remember that. We have to cherish that. We are members of a pretty awesome church. And then we need to do something, anything, a little extra money. Ask the neighbor across the road, hey, do you want to give to a church that really could use the money? I mean, there's various ways, so we just need to be creative. But I know we can do it. I know we can do it.
Right. We often ask God to intercede for us and help us. And he reminds us, I think, that we are the arms and legs. We are his arms and legs. We are the action components to following his plans. And I think, I think you both have said it very clearly that it's up to us to decide how we want this church to go forward. We're not in a crisis. That's the good news. But if we don't address this and find a balance, we will find ourselves in one. And as Larry pointed out, be making changes that probably most of us would not like.
I see Darren's hand up.
Yes, Darren.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Under the recommendation with cuts, also maybe at the time we could think of additional ways or fundraisers at that time. I don't know what the deadline is, but maybe revisit past fundraisers we've done to see if there's any that still with the timeliness of April that we could still incorporate into throughout the end of the year to bring some additional monies to the church, things of that nature. So not only focusing on cuts, but
right.
What else we can do, knowing many of us in the church or many people in the church already are doing a lot. Just to add
absolutely.
to cuts.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for reemphasizing that point. Certainly that is part of the dialogue that will be held going forward. And anyone who has any ideas or thoughts or recommendations in that regard, please bring them forward so that we can consider them and see whether they're an opportunity for us.
I have a message from Wendy. Wendy, you're unmuted. Are you able to talk now, or do you want me to read what you wrote? Silence tells me probably she still can't talk. She just wanted to be mindful, and I think this is great. And this is a couple of the emails that John and I and Frank have received this week, is that just to remind folks that if there's something that you're unhappy about, then we need to have that honest and open conversation too. If you don't feel like it's me you want to talk to, although I love having all types of conversations, there are so many leaders within the church for whom you can talk to, especially around the budget piece. There's personnel, there's John and the trustees. Just remembering that when we do have conversations, we don't want to create triangles. So if it is something specific about me, please come and talk to me. I'm pretty darn open and willing to talk to anyone, and it helps me improve as well. But please don't hold in what you're worried about or upset about, because that's where the fractures will start taking place. So thank you, Wendy, for bringing that up. Or talk to this, yeah, she said, and talk to the stewardship committee. That's really important to do as well. They're the creators of those lovely letters, and they're the ones that really put the energy and passion behind stewardship. So thank you.
Any other thoughts? I'm hearing none, so I take it that we are of a mind to continue as proposed and then revisit later on in the year.
I see that the recording paused. John, are we wanting it to stay paused?
Didn't think I paused it.
Yeah, for some reason it paused. I will start it again. Okay, there we go.
Thank you. All right. Now the other financial topic, it's sort of related to our budget, but it's a capital need. While we have some money in our capital fund, we haven't been contributing to our capital fund in a number of years directly out of our budget, which would be a best practice that we should do, primarily because we've been running tight budgets for a long time. So the past 7 or 8 years that I can recall, I don't think we've been putting money directly into capital. Wendy can probably correct me on that, and she probably has a better history on how we have that. I mean, we do have some over $85,000, I think it is, in our capital fund right now. However, we're facing a really big capital expense coming forward in that our buildings, and I mean all 5 of our buildings. So it's the church, the Friendship Hall, the cottage, the parsonage, and the garage of the parsonage are all in need of being painted. They are in different degrees of needing it, a different urgency behind some of those different ones. But the age of our buildings, particularly the church building, if you think of that as the centerpiece of all of this, is a lead-based paint that's been on there because it's been on there for hundreds of years. And so with that, it requires special handling. I was going back through some of our old records, and the last time I can find that our church was really painted, I believe Gene Cox and the Cox family spent a lot of time doing it themselves. So we had a big campaign when we did the steeple, which was actually 1999. So these are, it's been 25, 26, 27 years on some of these things that we haven't really done major work on the outside of that building. Friendship Hall, I know many of the people on this call have been part of painting that. We've had painting parties and things like that. We just don't have that capability in our congregation to do as much of that as we used to. So we started looking as a trustee saying, oh, well, what's it going to cost us to get our buildings painted and up to speed? And with that and the steeple, it could be as much as $150,000 that we're going to need on that. We asked some of the painters that were part of this, how long can we go? And we're sort of on the church building in particular, we're sort of at the cusp right now. It's like, you do it this year, it's still manageable because there's peeling and cracking, but if it gets too bad, then you're into a much bigger lead remediation project that they have to get into. Because right now they can sort of encapsulate things that are on there. But if you have to completely pull everything off, we wait another couple of years, that cost could double on the church building. And as I said, we have 85,000 in our capital fund, but we need to keep some money in capital. There are other things that break, and we need some money in reserve for that. And so with Larry and Frank and Gene and Jim and myself and a couple of others, forgive me if I'm forgetting as we're talking about that, we are forming an advisory committee, and we are thinking of this is going to be a multi-year campaign, capital campaign. That's something that we would launch in the spring. Because the church is such a iconic part of the town, we are looking to say we want to solicit from the broader community, not just from the congregation. So it's not like we're going to be looking for all that money. We're not going to be looking for it all at once, and we're not going to be looking at all from you. But that said, as Frank has mentioned, I think in council and in a couple other places, a good capital campaign, and he's run many of those in his business world, you already have, 50 to 70% of the money sort of earmarked before you really begin going out to those other parts of the community. Now, we do have a good chunk that we could start with, but we're not here today to say this is what we need and this is what we're going to do, other than to say this is coming and this is going to come this spring as well. So in addition to our budget shortfall discussions that we're talking about for operating budget, we're going to have this larger need, a one-time expense, hopefully one time for another couple decades, expense that we're going to have to figure out how we're going to tackle as a congregation as well. So I wanted the congregation to be aware of that. I wanted people to know that this is coming and not be blindsided or so focused on, oh, it's just the operations, but keeping our buildings in proper order is a big thing. And like I said, there was tremendous response for the roof last year. This is going to be another one, but this one, because of how many buildings we have and the ages of them, it's going to be more expensive because of the lead that's in there. So I just will pause there. Happy to answer any questions. We have a couple of quotes in hand from some painters who have lead-based remediation processes and work who are very reputable. But I'll pause here and see if anybody has any thoughts or questions. All right, with that, Frank, I will turn that back over to you.
We have Valeska has a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I heard you say remediation with that. I know that in the past, when I was living up in Cambridge, there was a school, and maybe this is only Massachusetts and maybe only for schools, that had lead paint, like a lot of it. And I don't know where, what, how, but there was some sort of state fund or something that they got into so that it was significantly less because of the children. And I'm just wondering if we have families and we have an older population. So I don't know if that, I don't know enough about it to say, is that what you mean by, are you looking into that? If that exists in the state of Connecticut?
We're looking at, are there grants or other options that we could pursue? I know there are also some things like low interest loans and things like that we could potentially pursue. Don't have answers on that or that piece specifically. I know one of the challenges is, a lot of the state funding and state programs, will tend to target, poorer districts, and Bridgewater is not considered a poorer district. So that's one of those things that is a sort of a double-edged sword for us, right?
Right. Thank you.
That's true in all fields, particularly I know in my experience in healthcare, the dollars go to Bridgeport and New Haven and Hartford. They don't go to Danbury or New Milford or places like that. So it's sad but true.
Chris and Jamie, I saw. Did you guys have something to say?
Oh, I just had a quick question. Is there lead paint on all of the buildings, or are some of them, like the parish house, could it not, I don't know when it was painted. I don't even know how old it was. Does it have lead paint also?
There are probably lead paint, at least underneath all of our buildings, just because they're all built, pre-1970s, right? Which is when the lead was outlawed from paint. Just as in the Friendship Hall, those tiles that are in the back hallway by the office, those are all asbestos tiles. So we have asbestos in there too. It was just what was done back then. It was the right thing to do at that time, but now we know differently on some of those things.
So
The
does
good
that
news
require
is-
that we,
Yeah, the good news is that, like on Friendship Paul, there's a lot less peeling. If you look at the front of the church, you can see what they call alligator skin. If you look
Yeah.
at some of the peeling right in the front, you see also the crackling, and it looks a bit like a skin of an alligator that's there. That's the real old, heavy, thick coats of lead paint that have built up over multiple years that it had happened. Friendship Paul, the peeling is more simple and straightforward, and they will do some, and the way they do that type of remediation is basically they put plastic all around the outside. They wet the side of the building when they're scraping, and they scrape it down. It all falls into the plastic. They roll up the plastic and take it away, and then they seal the walls with the special primer that encapsulate what's left up on there, so it doesn't, isn't a hazard for anyone. That's how they deal with it. There'll be more of that to do on the church than there will be on some of our other buildings.
thanks, John.
Sorry, getting into real technical details here.
Well, it's good. I think people need to be informed, and purpose of this meeting is to make you aware that this is an important issue. It needs to be done. It can't be delayed. So we'll do our best, certainly, to seek all available funding in order to accomplish this and to work out a plan that makes it fiscally viable from a timing standpoint as well. So that's the game plan. Are there any further comments before we end it there? Okay, if not, I call your attention, as I do each year, to the reports of the various boards and committees, to our pastor's report, to the church council report, and hope that you find these informative, and that you recognize the enormous amount of work and dedication that goes into the work of these groups and all the folks who participate in them. So certainly on behalf of all of us, I want to express my appreciation for the fine work that has been done year after year after year. It's amazing. Lorena, you have a question?
I couldn't come off mute quick enough, Frank. Regarding the painting, is there a time frame that we're aiming for to get it done? Or is it based on the budget?
It's going to be a little bit of both. I suspect this will be something what we'll do some buildings this year, some buildings next year. That's the reality. I don't think we'll have all the cash to do all of it at once, unless we decide to finance it, and because it makes more sense to do that. We haven't gotten far enough into that financial part of the discussion yet. The first building that needs to be done is the church. I mean, just regardless. So not only is it the centerpiece of the town and of our congregation, it's also the building that is starting to show the most distress because of the elements that are on there. We expect that building, we hope, would begin to do that in the summer. According to the painters, it would take a couple of weeks. It's not good. It's 2 or 3 weeks, probably a week for them to 2 weeks to prep, do all that remediation that we talked about, and then a week to paint. The building itself, nice and square, relatively easy. Big work for them is going to be the shutters. We have a lot of shutters that are needing replacement and things like that, in addition to the paint. But yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, are there any comments or questions with regard to the reports? Everyone is happy, and that's wonderful. So we'll get to what I think is the most important part of the meeting, the nominating committee report. Ted Anson.
Thanks. My report has changed due to last minute changes. And I unfortunately couldn't send you a corrected copy because Southbury was experiencing power outages all day yesterday. In fact, the restaurant we went to celebrate my birthday, we had to leave that restaurant and go to another restaurant because they didn't have any power. That being said, our vacated positions this year was totaled 16 people. We filled 13 of those. I have open 2, and 1 is a temporary, which I'll go into in a moment. For those of you that are not familiar with the process, all the nominations are put before the church council meeting, which took place about a week and a half ago. They were all voted upon and approved by the church council. However, it still takes the vote of the church annual meeting to approve all these names I'm getting ready to read to you. In addition to the names that I'm bringing forward, if you have any names that you want to bring forward, feel free to do so. Alan Smith is going to be our new moderator, or has been nominated to be our new moderator, replacing the one and only Frank Kelly. Frank, I want to thank you for all your years of service in your capacity as moderator, and we'll keep you on a couple other committees. So, like, I don't know, the paint committee to start with. Board of Deacons, people are Jan Gregory, Karen Gordon, Jane Stowers, and Candy Smith. Clerk, Heather Dietrich. Board of Trustees, Dick Jones. Personnel Committee, Alan Smith. One of our members of the Personnel Committee, which is typically 3 people, has stepped down, and Alan has agreed to take that position. Litchfield South, Candy Smith, Alan Smith, Chris Smith. Already on there is Frank Kelly. Also, another attendee of that is our illustrious pastor, Abby, but she doesn't count because she's pastoral. So under my open positions, I still have an open slot for another person to join that austere group and to attend the Litchfield South meetings, which I think is twice a year, Abby. So we need someone to go with these other group, and you have a nice luncheon. You meet twice a year and enjoy yourself.
The dates are May, if you guys need to know that. May and October are our dates.
Okay. Did you all hear that? May and October are their meeting dates. So I'm looking for one more person to fill that opening. We had a change of financial secretary in that Karen Gordon, who's done a super job for us, is stepping down from that. And on a temporary basis, Joe Dill has agreed to pick that up. I tried to talk Wendy into it, but she didn't want that. So, right, Wendy? The Board of Christian Ed is also, we have one opening there. So we have filled 13 and a half positions, and we have 2 positions that are open. Does anyone have any other names they would like to bring forward for any of these jobs, or would they like to volunteer for some of these open positions we have available now? I don't see any hands waving.
Response is deafening.
I know, I can just.
Okay, then that's you're recommending that the church accept the slate of
Yes.
names as presented?
Yes,
Okay, and there are no additional recommendations from the floor?
not that I see.
Right, okay. Then we'll ask for a motion to approve the slate as presented. Larry Neary, thank you, Larry. And a second? Josephine Dill, thank you for Josephine. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, none opposed. So we are good to go. Congratulations to everyone. Alan, do you have any words you'd like to say as moderator, new moderator?
mute myself here.
No, I guess not. I guess
Yeah,
not.
wait, yeah.
Oh, he does. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Thanks, Frank.
There you are. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Frank. Thanks, Ted. What an exciting time to step into the moderator's role. Yeah. So again, I want to thank Frank for the many years that you've put in that role. Going to be big shoes to follow, and on top of that, also all people who have left boards because their tenure was up or whatever. This year, I want to thank you for your service as well. It's been a wonderful team over the last several years, and I very much look forward to stepping into the moderator's role. Thank you all.
You've got good people to work with.
Yep. Thanks for your confidence.
Yep. Thank you. Very good. I believe there is no other scheduled business. Does anyone have any new business to bring forward at this time? Hearing none, seeing none.
Do we need to bring forth my sabbatical?
Because
it usually has to be done a year plus before I take it.
Oh, okay. When I was unaware of that. So please, would you just comment on the plan?
It literally just has to be in the notes that I will be taking a sabbatical in 2027 during the summer months. And so working with the trustees and the deacons right now to make a plan on coverage. It's part of my every 5 years, part of my contract, I can have a 3-month time away. Right. And so literally I just have to state that, and it needs to go into the notes for the clerk.
Very good. All right. So Heather, you've got that, right?
Got it.
Thank you. Hearing no other business, I'll call for adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Ted, thank you. Second. Larry, we are, well, I'll ask, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all for staying and for participating. Very much appreciated. And I hope that you have a very safe and warm weekend and safe week to come. Blessings to all.
Many blessings. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.